Welcome back to SoCal Business and Basketball Report. Tonight we're where the action is here in Sacramento, California. And we're here at the Golden One Center where we had the state championship games. And the final game tonight was Sierra Canyon against Sheldon of Sacramento. And what we thought would be maybe a little better game turned into a little bit of a runaway for Sierra Canyon. The Golden One Center here was really built with a combination of the mayor at the time, Kevin Johnson, the former NBA player who played with the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Phoenix Suns. The community contributed quite a bit, and David Stern really worked on this all the way back from when the Kings moved from Kansas City to Sacramento, and to this day, the road leading into the Golden One Center is called David J. Stern Walk. So the earlier in the year, if you remember when we were in Newark, we mentioned that Sacramento Sheldon was a team that could possibly give Sierra Canyon a game, and it looked that way coming in, and just didn't totally pan out that way, but it's a credit to Sierra Canyon. Just a tremendous team, a tremendous run here, 2 state championships in a row. And we'll get into the game a little bit further, but when you think of Sacramento, you think of the state government and all that comes with it. Other things in the area here in Sacramento, the Corrections Department, the EPA, University of California, Davis, and the UC Davis Medical Center. Aerojet Rocketdyne is here in Rancho Cordova. Suter Health, that's in over 100 cities in Northern California, is headquartered here. They have doctors' offices, hospitals, etc. Healthcare company. And in terms of the government, let's turn to that and first talk a little bit about the federal government and California's influence there. There are 453 total reps in the House of Representatives, and there's 53 from California. 31 come from Southern California. And as a comparison, you can look at Michigan has 14 reps, Ohio has 16 reps, Pennsylvania has 18 reps. Places like Delaware, Montana, Vermont, those states just have 1 rep. So with 31 from Southern California, that's pretty significant. On the state level of government, so California state government, of course you have the governor, that's the executive. The judicial branch, okay, is the check on the legislative and the executive branch here in California, and the Supreme Court for California is in San Francisco, but they also have sessions and activity here in Sacramento and also in Los Angeles. Court decisions by the state of California can be overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court if California conflicts with the U.S. Constitution. And there's a Chief Justice and there's 6 associates here in California. The governor appoints an individual if there is a vacancy, and that person would go on the ballot then and can be elected for a 12-year term. In terms of the state of California, internally here, the legislative branch, there are 40 members in the Senate that are on 4-year terms. And the state assembly has 80 members, and those members are on 2-year terms, 47 of which are from Southern California. So there is more population in Southern California than Northern California. The assembly has 1 rep per 465,000 people, and that's the largest number of people per rep in terms of all the states and the state governments. The state assembly, it's actually easier to get elected to that than it would be getting elected, getting elected to the city council in Los Angeles. And so you end up seeing a cycle. People might get accepted to the assembly, and then they time it so that when somebody might term out of city council in LA, they're ready to run down there. Antonio Villaraigosa would be a good example, a former mayor of LA. And you have to be in the assembly, you have to be a California resident for 3 years. You have to live in the district you represent for at least 1 year, and you have to be a U.S. citizen. So it's tough sledding here with the state government for conservatives. It certainly isn't easy. And it's not easy for Democrats either, because you have to say no to extreme liberals. And I'd have to say that Jerry Brown, the former governor, did a pretty good job of riding the fence in the middle and more or less telling people, when to eat vegetables when he had to. And we have a new governor now, of course. Governor Newsom's in office now just recently. So in the game tonight, we had Sierra Canyon 76, Sheldon had 52, KJ Martin had 23 points. So he goes out as a senior, as a state champion, leads the team in scoring. He had 30 the other night against Mater Dei to get Sierra Canyon here to the finals. Taryn Frank had 13. Scottie Pippen had 6. Cassius Stanley had 20. And Marcus Bagley for Sheldon, of course that's Marvin Bagley's brother, he scored quite a bit tonight as well. Joshua Morgan, the 6'11 player for Sheldon, did not play. He was injured. And they've had a lot of injuries this year. They haven't had their whole team together. When we were in Newark earlier in the year, they did have their whole team together. They looked a lot better at that point. Marquise Hargrove, number 0 for Sheldon, very good athlete. He was coming off the bench and didn't play real well himself. So that was our open division, the top division. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, all right. Good, yeah. And as you move to the other divisions, the state championships, we had Division 5, Bakersfield Foothill had 69, Southwest San Diego had 55, so Bakersfield Foothill and Edward Turner, who we talked about earlier this year when we were up in Fresno, he has not committed anywhere, but he's a state champion this year. Division 4, we had Rebay Academy out of LA, Snooky Wigginton, he had 19 points. Tyler Powell, a sophomore, had 15. He was a very good sophomore. And Rebay Academy had 60, Emmanuel 49, so Rebay Academy is the Division 4 champ. The Division 3 champ, La Jolla Country Day, 67, they won over University, 39. And a couple weeks ago I mentioned Ryan Langborg on our first team SoCal Business and Basketball report. And I had a couple of people ask me, why that kid from La Jolla? Well, he went out a state champion. He'll be at Princeton next year. Division 2, Ontario Colony lost to Campolindo. It was 40 for Colony. Campolindo had 55, and that was the only Southern California team that did not win the state championship up here. So all the other Southern California teams did win a state championship, including Chino Hills. Onyeka Kongwu, that was a Division 1 game. Onyeka Kongwu fouled out in the third quarter, so that's 2 years in a row up here. He's won a state championship, and it's 2 years in a row he's fouled out as well. And so he'll be heading on to USC, and from Ontario Colony, Cedric Altman will be heading to Pepperdine next year. So now we want to recognize one of my favorite teams. This is the all go to war team. So guys that did not make the first team or second team SoCal Business and Basketball report. These are guys that play hard every night. They're very good players, and they play with emotion as well. So the first guy would be DJ Davis from Corona Centennial. So his teammate Jalen Clark probably gets a little more notoriety, but I like DJ's attitude. He's got a chip on his shoulder, and he had a good junior year. He's back next year as a senior. Amari Bailey, the freshman from Sierra Canyon here, though he didn't score the most tonight, he was kind of the star of the show. He had a huge dunk in the first half, and at the end of the game he threw one off the backboard and had a nice looking dunk as well, where he actually got a technical foul. But he's a great athlete. He'll be a sophomore next year at Sierra Canyon and more of a leader next year. Jared Lucas, a senior from Los Altos. He's probably the most emotional player that I saw in Southern California. And he played with a lot of fire, so he's on the all-go-to-war team. He'll be at Oregon State next year as he's a senior. Yuki Akubo, a junior point guard from Crossroads. So, one of those guys, a reliable guy. A lot of times the coach at the banquet would say, hey, I wish I had 12 guys like Yuki. And I'm not going to say that because he's only 5'7", and you wouldn't get any rebounds if you had 12 of him. But he's a guy you want on the team because he's like a piece of glue. He's solid. He's fearless. He goes to the bucket. And he'll play next year with LeBron James' son, Bronny, who will be a freshman at Crossroads. Next guy, Wilhelm Breidenbach, who's a sophomore from Mater Dei. Hard-nosed guy, took his lumps as a freshman last year, and he gave some guys some lumps this year because he's a tough guy inside. Next player, Mason Hooks, a 6'10 junior center from Harvard Westlake. He doesn't necessarily have the vertical, but his heart's in it. He's playing hard and has a big motor and plays with emotion. Next, we have Benny Geeler from Rolling Hills Prep, and the girls were actually, for Rolling Hills Prep, they were up here in a state championship game, and I have a feeling that the boys in the next year or two might be up here as well. Coach Harvey Katani was here. Benny Geeler was a freshman this year, and he was a marked man because he scored 30 points in a summer league game last summer at Fairfax, and Benny had guys chase him all over the floor, but he was still putting up a lot of points this year. And you can see he has a fire inside. That's why he's on this team. Next is Cedric Altman, a senior from Ontario Colony. We had him up here tonight, and he'll be at Pepperdine next year. He's been around a long time. He was up here in a state championship game as a sophomore as well, and comes from a hard-nosed program, Ontario Colony. Next guy is Jackson Turner, a senior from Rancho Verde. He scores, he's strong, he's tough, he's an athlete. He'll play football and basketball at the University of Arizona. Next, we have Jordan Brinson, a senior point guard from Westchester. Tough kid from a tough program as well. He'll be at Missouri State, which is he's a senior this year, so he's got a scholarship to Missouri State, the old Southwest Missouri State. A couple more guys. Kamani Pollard, a junior from Westchester. You could hear it last week how he liked his play, and he's coming into the summer with a lot of confidence, scoring the ball and playing with emotion as well. And finally, Kalen Allen, a fifth-year senior at Westchester, 6'6", bruising inside player, and he helped give Westchester their physical brand this year. So that's our all SoCal Business and Basketball Report all go to war team. So those are the final team that we recognize. So the season's over. The next 2 weeks, we're going to have a couple of items to close up the year. We're going to talk, one week we're going to talk about a little more business in particular, and then the following week we'll talk about some stories with some guys making it to the NBA. And if you're a parent, if you're a coach or a player, it'd be good to tell others to watch that week because there's some good lessons to learn and what some guys did to make it to the NBA. So appreciate you joining us, and we'll look forward to talking to you again next week back in the SoCal area. I hope you picked up a lot. And at this point, after the last couple of years, if you've been watching, You've got a pretty good feel for California. You've got a great feel for the basketball players that are coming out of here. And we'll look to talk to you next week. And thanks for joining us.